Because we heard Joe Mazzulla talk about, hey, look, there's no pressure to repeat. Is there pressure once you've won one and you're trying to repeat and you've both done that? What is the feeling? If you don't call it pressure, what is it?
Well, we talked about legacy. Anthony Davis makes a great point. How do you want to be remembered? Now the Celtics have the record of 18 championships. There really is no pressure, but Boston has a lot of motivation. A lot of things were done in the Olympics. Jaylen Brown not making the Olympics, Jason Tatum not playing the Olympics. So those two are definitely going to have a chip on the shoulder. It's not really pressure, but how do you want to be remembered? You want to be like, Paul Pierce and those guys and get one, or you want to go back to back, or possibly go back to back to back?
Time in 2.5 decades, the New York Knicks are going to a conference final. And they do it in dominant fashion as they defeat the Celtics in 6 games. It's their largest playoff win ever.
It stings, as it should. Anytime, losing stings, especially finishing your season like this, it just wasn't our year.
From 1970 all the way to 1979, the NBA, fresh off of the reign of dominance that was the Boston Celtics, went through what was seen by many to be the worst era in NBA history. Many reasons contributed to this factor, but the main reason that this era gets criticized is for the reason that there was no dynasty or face of the league at the time. During the 60s, the Boston Celtics won 9 of their 11 championships, and they were seen as the second biggest dynasty behind the Minneapolis Lakers. During the 70s, there were 8 different champions, and there was parity in the league at the time. And there was no player that was the true face of the organization. Only twice were there repeat champions with the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, which both teams won twice during that era, but we mainly saw a different champion almost every year during that time. This was something the league was not necessarily willing to deal with, as the viewership was on a steady decline and there was a needed change. While this was an era that had a lot of negative things surrounding it, it was unique because it was seen as something that could never happen again, or at least that's what everyone thought. Because fast forward 50 years later and we are experiencing the same thing again, and this time the circumstances are very different while both eras are similar in a lot of ways. With the Boston Celtics being knocked out of the second round, this would be the 4th champion that would be eliminated before the NBA Finals. The Lakers, who won in 2020, were defeated in the first round of 2021. Then Milwaukee, who won in 2021, would lose in the second round the following year. Then in 2022, Golden State would win the NBA Finals and they would get knocked out in the second round in the 2023 playoffs. And then Denver, who won the 2023 NBA Finals, would get knocked out in 7 games in the second round of last year's playoffs. Many have started to compare both eras, as this is the only time where there has been no true dominant team in the NBA, which leads to this point. The era where teams are constantly winning back-to-back or having three-peats or being the biggest team in the league, it's coming to an end, which is something the NBA will either survive from or crumble because of it. Like it or not, many people who watch the NBA enjoy seeing a team constantly dominate because it gives them something to look forward to and it brings them excitement to the game. Back in the 80s, this is what saved the NBA from being on a complete decline. LA and Boston were constantly winning, and they were the 2 best teams of the NBA that were winning for multiple years. The Showtime Lakers, especially during this time, won 5 championships, and they were the dynasty of the era. Detroit and Boston were nowhere close to the success of the Showtime Lakers, but that doesn't diminish what both teams did. The Celtics were able to win 3 championships and they made it to 5 finals, and the Detroit Pistons were able to win back-to-back titles and they were able to knock off the Showtime Lakers and end their dynasty. But this is where the NBA truly found their formula and they wanted to keep it going, which would lead into the 90s where someone had to take over and be the new face of the league. And that is where we got Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, who arguably went on to have the greatest run in the NBA, and their dominance is one of legend with them winning 6 titles, which were 1 and 2 three-peats. Watching the Bulls win 6 championships was just something to behold, and it seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It definitely changed the landscape of the NBA when it came to dominance and winning. But while they won 6 championships, there was another team that also had a run of their own, which was the Houston Rockets. They were able to win back-to-back titles in 94 and 95. And with the Bulls dynasty ending in 1998 and Jordan going into retirement, the last championship that was won during the 90s was the San Antonio Spurs, with Tim Duncan, who would go on to start his own dynasty during the 2000s, which leads into that era, which was a bit different as there were 3 different championships during that era. The Miami Heat won, the Detroit Pistons won, and the Boston Celtics won only 1 championship during that decade. But the two big teams that were pretty much the owners of this era were, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs. The Lakers were the most dominant team from 2000 all the way to 2002, as they were the last team to go on a three-peat, and Kobe and Shaq were the best duo in the league while they were at their peak. While Shaq left in 2004, the Lakers would go on another run from 2008 all the way to 2010, winning 2 of the 3 finals they appeared in. With San Antonio, while they were never a team that went back-to-back, they were constantly in the running for an NBA championship every year while Tim Duncan was in his prime. While not a traditional way, they were too a very successful franchise. So during that era, it was pretty much Tim Duncan and Kobe as far as dominating and winning constant championships. When it came to who was more enjoyable to watch, you could say that people gravitated more towards the Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, and with Kobe and Gasol rather than the San Antonio Spurs, as fans definitely did see them as the more boring team. But nonetheless, they too were just as big as the Lakers during that time. During the 2010s, that would be the last time we saw the era where teams were winning multiple championships in a row. To start off in 2011, we would have Dirk Nowitzki, who would win his first and only championship, as they were never able to replicate their success after that point. But after 2011, we would see LeBron James, who would only win 3 titles during this time, but he would make it to 8 straight NBA Finals with the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now with Miami, there is a debate on if there are a true dynasty, considering that they only won 2 of the 4 times they were in the finals. But during the height of their run, they were the franchise everyone hated, and they wanted to see them lose every single year, due to them starting the super team movement when LeBron, D. Wade, and Bosh formed in 2010. This was the team to watch during that time, and they made the league very exciting as they were constantly in the NBA Finals. However, that trio would come to an end when the San Antonio Spurs would win their 5th title and end Miami's chances at getting a three-peat, while simultaneously adding to theirs. But after 2014, that seemed to be San Antonio's final hurrah, as they were still one of the best teams in the West, but they weren't the ones winning championships anymore. Because there was one team that no one expected to completely take over the NBA for the next 5 years, and they ended up becoming the villains of the NBA.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
Finds Vonleh, blocked by Green. Oh, what a block from Draymond Green. Somehow they have to get the Kings off the line. And Clay, 8 for 8. Livingston sees an opening and throws it down. Left-handed off the glass. Barnes on the follow. The shot up. Iguodala, here it comes. He got it. The Warriors have won.
This was the team that truly broke the NBA. In their early stages, it was just Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson who started out. And they won their first title in 2015, shocking everyone because they were a team that no one expected to win a championship. They somehow managed to overdo what they did in 2015 and go 73-9 and have the single greatest regular season in NBA history, and made it all the way to the finals, but they would lose to the LeBron-led Cavaliers. But that is not where the story ends for Golden State, as they would acquire Kevin Durant in free agency and seemingly break the league and the parity in the NBA.
The news again coming in moments ago, Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors. How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, what Russ got to say about that's what we are. What Russ finna say about this shit? This shit is crazy.
I want to go to a bigger point when I look at this Golden State Warriors team. As I told you before the season began, that damn Kevin Durant ruined my season.
They would steamroll the entire competition and dominate everyone that was in their way. And many fans wanted to see their downfall happen, which made everyone tune in because everyone knew that this team needed to be stopped because they looked unstoppable, which prompted every team to try and make teams suited to stop Golden State, which to everyone's surprise did not work. But Golden State would win 3 championships and make it to the finals 5 straight times, making them the last dynasty the league had at the time, due to them losing in 2019 to, ironically, the dynasty destroyer himself, Kawhi Leonard with the Toronto Raptors, kicking off the 6-year stretch of a new champion every year since then. Now the question is, will we ever get another NBA dynasty? Well, that is something that may not be answered yet. The playoffs currently have 3 teams that have a chance at winning their first championship in franchise history, and one that hasn't won in 50 years. New players that the league is very much new to, as the old stars are out of the playoffs and it is now the new generation taking over. But why does this keep happening? Why are we constantly seeing teams who won the year prior getting knocked out so early in the playoffs? That is because in 2023, the NBA wanted a league that was more on an even playing field and for everyone to have a chance at winning a championship. So Adam Silver issued a second apron to the salary cap, This second apron was formed when Golden State was able to get Kevin Durant on a 2-year deal, and it was also even made possible because Curry was on a pay cut. So now with this, it eliminates super teams being formed or star-studded rosters in free agency. Even with teams like Boston, Denver, Golden State, or even OKC, there is a possibility that players will have no choice but to be moved because of the salary cap and contracts being upgraded to a potential max deal for certain players. But with all that being said, there is one thing that is certain. Whether fans like it or not, we're entering a new chapter of NBA history. One where the concept of a single team dominating may be gone for good. For the hardcore basketball purists, this might be everything they've ever wanted. More teams in contention, new faces stepping into the spotlight, and a league where every season feels unpredictable. Parity has arrived, and for some, that's a breath of fresh air. But for others, it's a farewell. A farewell to the dynasties, to the Bulls that defined the 90s, the Spurs that perfected consistency, the Warriors that rewrote what dominance looked like. These teams weren't just winners, they were eras. They gave fans a villain to hate, a hero to root for, and a reason to tune in every single night. With parity, the torch is passed constantly, but with dynasties, it was held high, sometimes for nearly a decade. And love them or hate them, dynasties made the league feel something that would only happen once in a lifetime. So while this new era may bring balance and variety, the death of the dynasty leaves behind something irreplaceable. Legacy through longevity. And whether we see another one rise again, one thing is certain, the dynasty era will be missed.